Great.
We can change it.
Well,
We're live.
Proctor first, okay?
Good morning and welcome to the Environmental Services Committee meeting for February 13th, 2024. Do we have any declaration of pecuniary interests?
None known.
Okay, we don't have any delegations today. Okay, so we can go ahead and circulate the prior meeting minutes. Does anybody have any questions?
No, we approved those meetings at our last council meeting.
Okay, and there is no business arising from the minutes. Council issues or correspondence? Okay. So we can move on to the health and safety. The Environmental Services Joint Health and Safety Committee inspection sheet for January. So there were a few things to note on there. So item 3A, access and egress. I noticed that these have all been discussed previously, but we'll go over them briefly again, just because they were on this report. So routes and exits are clearly marked as listed. It is listed as a Class B hazard at the moment, because there is only one point of access and egress for the basement of the wastewater treatment plant. This is not adequate for egress, and there should be a minimum of 2 usable exits in case of an emergency situation. Item 4B, floors and stairways free from tripping hazards is listed as a Class B hazard as well, because of the ongoing water leakage on the floors and walls. And then item 8A, general housekeeping is neat, clean, and in good repair is listed as a Class A hazard due to mold in the admin building, office roof leaking, ongoing pipe leak, and falling debris from ceiling in the basement locker room. Last committee meeting, we had discussed the possibility of looking into some PPE.
Yes, so I did some research. I got a few calls out. Okay. So the majority of the research that I've been able to get, it basically all refers more to dealing with the removal and
Mhm.
cleanup of mold in it. So they talk about in multiple different documents, so it's EPA, but whenever they're dealing with it, almost all of it refers to cleanup and remediation work, not just working in an area that has mold. So basically, what they recommend is minimum N95 respirators at a minimum, and there's a few spots in here that talks about even the N95, because it doesn't give you a tight fit and seal on the face, it's still a minimum amount of protection because it's not airtight. You're still getting stuff in. They tell you they want you to wear goggles and eye protection, long sleeve shirts, protective gloves, long pants, boots, and then a lot of the clothing they talk about having disposable clothing, so once you're done, you can dispose of it. There's really nothing that I've been able to get that says, okay, just to work in a building, as soon as you bring it up that you have these issues in a building, they want to do remediate, they want to get rid of it.
Which has already been looked into.
Yes, so I guess my recommendation is keep pushing forward and get the actual solution to this problem done as quick as possible. We do have floor plans now from MIG that we've scheduled to meet with them to review that. I've already got some questions and stuff for them when we have that meeting. And then once they get through that, they're gonna give us, start working on an actual estimated construction price. At that point, they'll look for approval to move on to the second stage, which will include more engineering and the tendering and stuff to get the actual tender documents out. Once the tender documents come, we have an actual true price of what it's gonna be to build the building. At the end of the day, the longer it takes to get to that point, the longer staff are gonna be working. I don't see it feasible to have staff. The other option would be a construction trailer type office. but that's gonna be a significant amount of money for a short term, so. It's kind of a. We either have to kind of get out and find an alternative, which isn't easy with the labs and SCADA and all the controls being in that building. There's no possible way that we can be out of that building completely, or you're gonna have to have, you know, full respirators, disposable clothing, et cetera, every day. So. Again, my recommendation is just try to keep this going along as fast as we can, you know. Get it going, get the tenders out. Try to get the approvals out and eliminate the problem completely.
No amount of mitigation at this point is going to solve that issue, and obviously. Changing the situation entirely is the best. Thing we can do, and it's in the works, but the health and safety issues are pretty bad right now, right? So I think that any sort of mitigation that we can do in the short term should at least be looked at being done. So whether that is using full PPE when you're in certain areas of the building, even for example, in the manager's office where there's a clear presence of mold.
And I don't know how wearing a face mask all the time, talking on the phone, doing Zoom calls and stuff with face masks, it's just not gonna be reasonable. So maybe we would have to look at possibly remote offices, working from home, et cetera. So then we can close the office off completely, take the doors, keep everybody out. It's an option. We can look at other options. It's not an easy thing to stay away from the office and then try to, like I said, try to do everything with a mask on and full gear on, work on the computer with the PPE on. It's gonna be very, very difficult to do that. And then at the same time, you know, the staff, like, we're gonna have to find an area where all of our documents and all our files and the photocopier and the other SCADA computers are all gonna go.
Mhm.
The staff are in and out of my office continually, because it's just the limited space we have. A lot of the documents, all the filing, the photocopiers, and the computers are all in that office.
Mhm.
So even though it's the manager's office, it's technically part of an operations center too for the operators.
I understand that it would be a challenge to kind of move everything around and to deal with the different measures that can make it safer for you and those who work with you. But it has been something that probably should have already happened. And if it's because it's been a concern for a long time, and it's health versus inconvenience. It's not like the problem's gonna be solved next month and we're just waiting a couple of weeks and we're moving it, by the time we get it moved around, the problem will be solved. It could be a while. We want it to be fast, but
Yeah.
nothing happens that fast.
I can contact some more. It's gonna cost some money, but we'll get hold of some industrial hygiene people and maybe get some written recommendations. May cost us some money, but
So no one can come and clean?
no, like they'd have to totally gut right down to concrete walls and then.
That's how they have to repair, like they have to go out and mold.
Well, it's all in, so in our plant, the mold in the basement. there's
I'm not
supposed-
talking about the basement, I'm talking about your office.
My office, they'd have to completely gut it, remove the ceiling, like we put the ceilings in, they'd have to. Strip it, probably seal it. I know one way of sealing mold is they'll spray it with closed cell insulation, but again, we're talking thousands of dollars. Being put into a building that eventually the plan is to tear down.
So the worst case, the worst spot is your office.
Right now, the worst spot is in my office.
So why can't we move you?
Where
Well,
to?
That's,
Well, there's an empty office at the arena and there's an empty office at Public Works.
it would be inconvenient, yes,
Yeah.
but for a period of time and
I guess with Public Works, I can at least, I have some. The arena, I haven't spent a lot of time there, but I'm gonna have to bring a lot of documents
It's
with me.
it's at the office at the front. I
Yeah,
don't know what's in
so
there right
You
now.
can take a look.
but- Yeah,
It might be an option.
but Public Works is probably better for, at least you have some interaction with them.
So we can look at it.
and then for the basement, because that is also an issue in the basement, correct?
Yes,
And what is in the basement that could not be moved to other areas?
kitchen, showers, laundry,
I thought they quit using, thought that everybody stopped going downstairs.
it's the only spot we have. For lunchroom, shower, there's one of the showers, change rooms, all the laundries downstairs. Probably 50% of our document storage is downstairs.
The biggest area,
The worst area right now is my office
Mhm.
because with the leaking roof, it's constantly moisture in the ceiling, it's the floor, all along the floor, under the carpet, behind the baseboards, it's all black mold. And that's where we've been noticing more and more of it. It is in the basement as well,
Mhm.
but most of the stuff in the basement's between the false ceiling and the actual concrete upper floor,
okay,
so.
so it's not, if it's not being disturbed, it's not quite as.
It's not as bad.
Maybe looking into something like an industrial sized dehumidifier or something like that could be put,
We have one.
you have one down there and it helps, but it's not doing enough or.
It
it's-
helps, but it isn't. Enough.
Okay.
Part of the reason is there's still water seep up through the floor, through the walls.
Mhm.
It does help, but it's just, you can't get enough. It's just a constant flow of water being, the water table's so high and the basement so deep. It just never stops coming.
Well, we'll take a look at seeing if we can at least deal with the office, get it moved around. Maybe get the documents out of there. I don't have a visual idea of how much is there, if it's boxes and boxes or
There's
cases and
basically
cases.
three filing cabinets and then two shelves on the wall. That are mounted on the wall, that would have to basically all come out.
Well, we'll take a look at seeing what we can do to help.
The falling debris from the ceiling in the basement locker room. Is it a lot?
It constantly just showers down and it's just the vibration of the building and due to the dampness of it. So you can clean it up and the next week there's more of it there, even though you don't touch it, it just slowly.
So is it like dust or is it like,
There's fine dust, there's chunks, bit of both. So you get a dust on all the shelves and all the filing. Boxes and stuff down there, and then on the floor you'll find larger, like little bigger chunks.
so in terms of it being a hazard though, it's the inhalation of it's the
That's the
hazard and not
biggest concern,
the,
yeah.
it not falling on someone. and
No,
injuring
it's
them,
just
right?
breathing in of any dust and particles out of that.
So, I mean, aside from it not being there, again, a respirator mask would really be the only thing that could
Yeah,
mitigate that, right? Would be my thought there. And then the water on the floors, item 4B. Do we have wet floor signs up? I know there's a few of you and you probably know where the puddles are.
when it does, so basically if the basement gets puddles, we put up the wet floor signs. It's kind of an intermittent, you can see the water's right under the floor, so sometimes it'll seep up. Sometimes it'll be dry for a few weeks and then you'll walk down and there'll be water on the floor. So when we find it, we do have signs that are there.
Is it happening often enough that the wet floor signs should just stay where they are? It's in the same spots? Because if someone slips on a new puddle that no one's seen yet, then it's a health and safety issue. If there's a wet floor sign there, they know to go around it.
We
just
could
in
put one
case,
up at the
right?
bottom of the stairs and just leave it up constantly. That's easy enough to do. It's just limits there.
And then the last thing I noticed on this report was that the 2 sections at the bottom were blank. Just loading the document up here.
Responses.
The response and then the comments and recommendations.
Yeah, so because this is the first time that they've used the mesh
Yeah,
system to do this.
none of the departments have
None of
anything in here.
none of it was set up at this time to do, for me to go in and do the responses.
Okay,
I still don't think it's at that stage yet.
okay,
So when I spoke to Shelley about it, the plan is that hopefully Mesh will have this ready,
Mhm.
and when we do our joint health and safety committee meeting.
Mhm.
It'll be used as a demo for all the people in joint health and safety committee to go through and put in the responses and that, so. That's why there's nothing, so Shelley has got the responses to this, but nothing can be added in the mesh yet, so.
so. Recommendations were given in written notice, then they're just not on this form. And then there was response to it, or there were no recommendations, but there was a response.
Basically, the recommendations are right now to replace the building. That's what our recommendation's been for a while. Is to resolve, like to remove the issues, which is basically redoing the building. We've looked in the past to try to remedy the issues with contractors. There isn't any contractors that would do like the water issues, they won't do anything, the cost of the mold. It's not, we have to gut the whole building, so it's been decided that we're not gonna do any actual physical remediation of the issues, so the only thing would be, like you said, if we look into moving or to a different office and then masking, gloves, goggles, stuff like that.
So that recommendation then, that was made on a previous health and safety report as the recommendation from the Joint Health and Safety Committee?
To replace the building,
Yes,
yeah, these have been on here for years.
like as a written recommendation, not just a discussion. Right.
No, it should be documented in.
Yeah, I
health and
think-
Safety that the building,
Like the recommendations. Don't come from the Joint Health and Safety Committee, they come from the management, right? Like. The inspection is done by the Joint Health and Safety Committee, it goes for discussion. It's up to the management to come back with a recommendation, how to deal with it.
And then, so if that was made as a recommendation, then we've responded, or there's been a response with a plan in writing that says what is going to happen moving forward. I know
Yeah,
this
and
would be
that's like,
looking
it's always,
back If it's been a past
Yeah.
recommendation, but if it's still a
Um,
problem, then it would technically be a recommendation still. Just because with those recommendations, within 21 days are supposed to be the response. Stating whether or like what is going to be,
yeah,
done.
and I think that response has always been that we're gonna. Plan to replace the building. Don't think there's been more to it than that, really, like the problem is pointed out on every inspection for the last 2 or 3 years. And it's always, and maybe even longer, I don't.
Okay.
And then it's always been. Planned towards replacing the building. There's been some discussion, as you say, about, bringing in.
A trailer.
Portable trailer and doing some cleaning, those kinds of things have been talked about as well,
Mhm.
but the focus has always been on the new building.
We patched a roof over the office once or
it's
Twice or-
multiple, like it's,
Mhm.
like
3 or 4
in the,
times.
as an interim measure,
Right,
but didn't work. Or didn't last.
yeah, it normally lasts for 6 months to, I think the longest we got it was almost a year. And then they have to come back and kind of redo the area that's bad. They can't completely be finished because the digester project,
Mhm.
if they were to do a complete fix. they're just gonna ruin it if they come back in the spring and start working on the digester, because they'll be on the roof all the time. And the roof's not designed to take the abuse that with all the static, all the contractors and the equipment and the scaffolding, they'll just ruin the roof, so. There's that office section of the roof and the actual digester roof was scheduled to be replaced. I believe it was, boy, well, it was 2018, 2019. But it couldn't be done due to the fact that the digester project hasn't completed. Like I said, we'll pay for a roof and they'll just ruin it within the year. By building scaffolding and stuff, it's just a membrane roof, it's not designed to have scaffolding and stuff built on it,
Mhm.
so it would basically just throwing money away.
Okay, if, then if all of the recommendations have been responded to and, leadership and staff are satisfied with those, remedies or left remedies, then I don't have any more questions about this. This joint health and safety report. Does anyone have any other questions?
There's on the second report, there's a bit of a discussion about
Step
yeah,
that was replaced that.
it's done.
Yes. Yeah, so it was brought to my attention, that sent Kim out to get a replacement, so that's all done again, it's just not.
Yeah.
On these documents, because I couldn't do it in Mesh, so Shelley was notified right away that new one was purchased and it's all done.
Okay. All right, then we are able to move on to the environmental services monthly report for January 2023.
So an update from previous month, so the digester project. CAO and myself had a meeting with MIG to discuss the path going forward and what the options were and where we're sitting. In that meeting, it was decided that MIG would go back to Matt and get some more detailed information and plans, get them back to the MIG for review, and then MIG's to update us on that as soon as they have some definite answers and direction. I have spoke to Sensen, I've also spoke to a couple other contractors that are willing to come, and they'd like to meet, instead of just meeting with the village, they'd like to meet with the engineer too, to look at what could potentially be done or what some of the problems that are being missed on the contractor's end could be, to try to find some kind of a solution to get this project wrapped up. At least with the primary one, and then they also discuss what could potentially be done with the secondary unit that has to be done as well. So we've scheduled that for first part of March. I gotta get some dates from a response as far as a couple days that works for Jim and myself and MIG. And once I have that date, we'll schedule, and then they're gonna come down and they'd like to meet in person, they'd come down and meet in person. So, at least get some other input from some different contractors and see what kind of thoughts they have, or if they can come up with, maybe what the issue may be and why they can't get the project to get the results that we need to complete it. Work management, so we have two full-time employees at the moment. We have one employee that's on leave. We have one contract employee to cover that leave, and then we have a vacancy due to the resignation. So we do have the advertisements out, it's closed. We have resumes for scheduling interviews and stuff currently, to try to fill that vacancy. So hopefully in the next little bit, we'll have some options.
So have you determined timing? Like, when are you gonna do the interviews? Like,
We're
soon?
scheduling for this week.
Okay,
Hopefully they'll be all done by the end of the week. I do want to discuss a couple things with Jim after, just, we do have some interviews set up. Potentially wouldn't mind doing one or two more, depending on what Jim thinks, so. I just want to sit down with them, we haven't gonna go over a few more of the resumes that came in, were submitted, so. Hopefully by next week, we'll, maybe have some candidates
Good.
available for that. Training, all of our staff continue to work towards getting the required annual training to get their license in. And keep them maintained and to get higher certifications. Myself and Kim, we've already booked some of our training for this year. Hopefully, as long as we keep the staff coming or get enough staff on board, which we should, with the leave, they'll be back by then. So we'll have new people coming in and have at least one experienced person there, so we won't be short-handed when the training does come up. And all the health and safety training, we're just continuing to follow the village matrix that's supplied by Shelley for that. Certifications, all of the staff have the required certification or higher to operate under all of our regulations. And again, I just continue to encourage all of our staff to try to get, higher level certifications, and the more qualifications and experience they can get, the better. Treatment plant, so the interior, the treatment plant is all being tracked through our mesh work order system. Everything in the plant and remote facilities gets its routine maintenance. General housekeeping is being done on a regular basis. We did discuss previously the admin building issues as far as the health and safety concerns. And again, like mentioned, we are working with Meg to try to keep this project rolling and moving forward, so we can keep the information coming in and allow committees and councils to make decisions and see whether or not we can get a solution to the issues. Yeah, we discussed this briefly with the health and safety. The office roof is still leaking in the office. And again, it can't be repaired until the digester is completed. I did meet with the Federal Bridge Corporation staff to discuss the planned construction on the second span in 2024. We had a very positive meeting with the bridge staff, covered all the concerns that I had brought up to them about the potential of safety concerns with them working over top of our property and our offices. Everything was set for that. We all agree that health and safety is the #1 priority for this project. And they're gonna keep all of us basically in the loop with the communications. They basically told me that they're gonna invite me to all the meetings, so we'll always be there, hands-on kind of in the meetings to address any issues and to know what's being planned and how the project's moving forward. So it's nice to see that they've really taken a step forward to keep the village up to date and part of the project, so we know what's going on. We did discuss a bunch of different options for the work. Once they have their first construction meeting, I should be able to bring most of that forward to committee, so that you all have an idea of what their plans are to keep everybody safe during that time. The exterior of the plant, again, it's all being maintained and tracked through our mesh work order system. Currently, there's no deficiencies that have been noted that haven't been included in the capital budgets or will be taken care of in this year's operating budget. If anything does come up, it will either be added to the 25 capital, or it'll have to be dealt with for immediate repair if it's something that would take us out of compliance. And then we would have to discuss using reserves or whatever to fix those. Inspections, we haven't had any inspections this period. Wastewater infrastructure, so all the remote pump stations are good operating condition. I'm working on improving and getting the scheduling all the items that have been put into the 24 capital budget. I've been having discussions with MISEC and the MOECP, which was discussed in the last meeting, about possibly allowing F1 to be hauled into the plant from a local site. We still haven't got a response back from the MOE on that. I'm not sure how long it's going to take before they actually get back to us with all the requirements and what we'd be required to do as the village to accept that. And then the hauling of F1 from the plant, sorry, I skipped one there. So we have had, we set to haul some effluent out of the plant and take it to their site for cover water. Starting this week, instead of doing the effluent, we've set up the water meter and backflow, and we're just selling them potable water. So instead of doing, dealing with the plant and having the trucks in and out of the plant and us having to supervise it, we just did the fire hydrant. So we're supplying water off a fire hydrant, metering, and then we'll invoice them for whatever they use for the water. So once I do have any more information from the MOE on, as far as accepting leachate, I'll bring that forward. For committee and council to be able to review that. Drinking water infrastructure, currently all our assets are in good working condition. We do have a hydrant that had a leak last week, so it's an old Activity hydrant. We got it to stop leaking, where we are going to be replacing it in the spring. And if it continues or it starts to leak again, we'll have to do it sooner, but the plan is to try to do it once the weather's a little better, and then we'll be able to clean up the boulevard and everything in front of the houses right away, rather than if we do it now, it'll be a muddy mess. So the hydrant's still in service, so it's not like there's a hydrant in service. St. Clair Street, the environmental services doesn't have any updates to give on that water main replacement project and street. Inspections, audits, reports. Currently working, trying to get the 2023 annual reports done for the water and sewage systems. Stormwater infrastructure, continuing the work with Torma and Cat, try to get numbers for the capital budget with storm stations to replace the old diesel generators diesel pumps that are in there currently. They want to come down and have an on-site meeting, so I'm trying to schedule something with them when they can come down and do that. They are coming out of Toronto, so we want to make sure that when they do come, everybody's prepared for the visit. Catch basin repairs, basically it's an ongoing list. Whenever either we find something or somebody else reports an issue, we get it on the list, and then as soon as we have either enough to do, we'll bring in the contractor. If it's something that needs to be fixed immediately, we'll do that. We did find some issues down under the bridge, so we had a collapsed pipe in front of Albert's right there. With the flushing going on and with Badger and the camera work, they found another bad section of corrugated steel pipe down further just before you turn go in the parking lot. So I've been dealing with the county on that. They're redoing that section, part of that down there, but I think we're gonna end up having to do a temporary fix in there to fix that up before they do all that construction, so I'll continue to work with Glenn on that and get a plan together and try to resolve those issues before it turns into a bigger problem.
Jason, when are they planning to do their work? I mean,
I never got an actual date, so they have
next year.
they are planning, I believe it's 20.
I thought it was 26. You're talking about the entrance to Waterfront Park.
Yeah, Glenn said there's gonna be a bunch of work in that area, so he wanted to hold off until we knew exactly what's going on with that project. That's what we're gonna try to do, a temporary, just a temporary repair, just to make sure everything's good and safe under the road, and then once they know exactly how and what we're gonna do, we'll revisit it. I really don't, like I said, at this point, I never got all the details for that, so. Well, they had a bunch of, they have to do a bunch of testing and stuff down there, from what I understood. So. Kinda, you know, it'll be a little bit of wait and see what the county has scheduled, and then we'll go from there, but it'll definitely be. If they don't have anything planned, we'll definitely get at it before spring, before things start getting busier with the, you know, the river traffic and people being down in the park and that, so. Probably within the next month and a half, we should have a plan in place to get that done. Vehicles and equipment, all the vehicles and equipment and we good operating condition. I just had a note in there about continuing to discuss with the other managers and council on, you know, how we're looking at doing vehicles replacement structuring and different options that have been discussed. You know, getting to purchase, doing lease. And this is all gonna be tied into the asset management plan that we're currently working on updating, so. But like we have, everything we have is in tip-top shape, so. It's just not following our asset management plan at the time. Right now, it's telling us we should be replacing them, I believe it's 7 years. 7 or 8 years, we're already past that with some of them. So I'm not saying we need to replace them, but you know, with the options talked about, you know, leasing, renting, different options, I kind of want to know which way to head, so we can start planning a few years out. Security. I had Robert's power controls come in. There was some areas that we had discussed about having low light conditions and shadow areas where people could potentially, you know, hide or be. So those areas were all addressed with additional lighting. Capital budgets. Basically ended the 23 capital budget projects that weren't completed. Have been carried over in 24 and they're underway. Badger's continuing to do the flushing and CCTV work for the condition assessment project. B&M Ross is continuing on the capacity study. There was a prelim report that was submitted to the village, reviewed and then forwarded to the developers. To my knowledge, they haven't responded to that, but I haven't seen anything back from any of that. And then 2024 operating capital, I already got a good start with the 24 capital projects. There's already a number of them. Stuff's been ordered. We've got everything taken care of to keep the prices in. I just put in a couple requests yesterday for contractors. Firm up on the pricing on it. Most of the prices when we did the budget were locked in for 30 days, so they were already expired prices when we did the budget. So if there was an increase in January 1st, they're just confirming that. And so most of them have talked to they don't see enough of a change that should make any difference, but I just wanna confirm that before we start getting POs in, so. That's, yeah, we didn't have any community feedback, we don't have any events coming up, so.
Thanks, Jason.
Do you have any questions?
You don't count Valentine's Day as an event?
No,
No, I asked my question about the Michigan Abbots. Too bad it couldn't coincide.
Mhm.
The issue with the underground down by
oh,
Albert.
previous one, well, yes.
Yeah, it's too bad that they're far apart.
Then we are able to move on to the.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, I did.
Go ahead.
I didn't interrupt earlier, but when you said you were gonna use that fire extinguisher, or I mean, fire hydrant. And measure the water.
Yep.
Like, does that have any impact on the fire department? Like?
No.
No?
No.
Okay,
No, basically, we put it on, we filled it, all it is the backflow preventer,
okay,
like the meter, the backflow preventer and a valve.
okay,
And they just pull up and we fill them up and then we lock it
Okay,
up at night. So the fire department still has access to the fire hydrant as well.
oh yeah, I figured it wasn't an issue, but I thought I just asked the question to make sure. Thank you.
Don't know how much longer they're gonna do it. They are trying to work with the city. Just because they're on the far side of the city. So
Okay.
they're purchasing water from the village. To take it to the far side of the city. It's because they have to go around the city. It's about a 2-hour trip, but.
Oh.
So they're trying to get something set
Yeah.
up with the city anyway, so they can use a hydrant. Like right at the site, basically. But I figured if we can sell water,
Yeah,
sell some water and,
as long as you're making something on it to make it worthwhile.
yeah, no, definitely, it's far better than letting them take the effluent from the plant, so. We're actually getting a bit of revenue out of this.
Thank you.
2024 operating budget for storm sewers.
You gonna do the 2023 capital project?
I've got it in the other order on the
Oh.
agendas.
Okay.
Any revenues for storm? I guess that's probably just the,
Federal bridge.
yeah.
I-
Great.
It's just a guess at this point, because we're not even done last year's yet.
Yeah, so we get a percentage back of anything that goes into storm sewer. We get back to the federal bridge. That's the only revenue. So it's all basically depends on what the expenses are. So that's the only revenue that's considered in this budget. And then to go down to the, and this is just this year's operating. There's really not a whole lot we just have the Alexander and Bayview pumping stations, so.
And the Alexander pump one are just basically set costs. Other than repairs and maintenance, those are actuals. And then the Bayview. Or, pardon me, actuals.
uh, So the 20% increase, where is that mostly? Not really anywhere in particular, it's just small amounts in a few different places, but there's not a lot to be done with these budgets.
But there's been nothing brought in. From reserves normally, other than 375. But there's been no operating surplus of anything.
Yeah, I'm talking just specifically Alexander Pump
Okay.
Station and Bayview. But like, it's a 20% increase, but it's only a couple $1,000s, right? It's
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
why it looks big.
like,
And then the Blue Water pumping station area, they pay a portion of those costs too.
Okay.
The Blue Water Bridge.
Bayview.
Sorry,
Bayview.
I'm sorry, Bayview. Because they impact on it, I guess. Is it 20%?
18.
18%.
Okay.
Oh, I can't read it. It might be on there.
It'd be under revenues.
Okay.
Probably read it now.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's not a whole lot. There's only like a dozen or 15 accounts there and they're just. You know. Repairs and maintenance, the utilities, not much you can do about the utilities or the insurance. So. There's just not a whole lot of give in these two departments.
Okay.
If you have any questions.
I don't have
I'd
any
be happy to
questions.
try and answer them, but,
No question.
okay.
Then we can move on to the review of the 2023 capital budget.
And I doubt if there's much here either, but,
I just have a couple comments.
okay,
So
Excuse me.
under the condition assessments. So it's not on yours, but so it over 60, almost 60,000 in 2023. So that will get carried over to 2024 to be used with your pre-approved 250,000. You don't have the additional 60 because you went over in 2023.
That's the, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then same with the St. Clair Engineering. I'll put that overage into a prepaid. Bring it forward to be part of the St. Clair Road project in 2024, so it's
Mhm.
all part, okay? So that was condition assessments and the St. Clair Engineering. So we ended up going over on that one. And then on your storm stations. The catch basins and sinkholes went over by almost 32,000. But you wanted to carry over the 43,000 for the diesel repairs. But I'm wondering if we should be using that 43 to cover that shortfall. And to put the difference over the carry forward.
Yeah, because my request is take the 43. So the only
Or should we
problem,
take the 30, almost 32,000 back to cover that catch basin up shortfall?
the only problem with that is if we take that 42 away. So that 42,000 right now is to cover if one of the two diesel engines fails. Tomorrow, we need to be able to fix it. We're trying not to spend that $40,000 because they're 1960s diesels. And we're trying to save, we're putting the money in the reserve to try to get that capital replacement. So if one of those were to fail and we had to fix, we're gonna need a portion, or a large portion of that money to repair them. And then we're gonna have, if we take it away, we won't have anything in the budget to repair them. Ideally, we'll be able to get them replaced as a capital project, so that was the plan, like, if we don't have to repair them, we could take that 42, add it to the reserve to do the replacement. I guess we could do it if. we
Okay, but
use
doesn't
it.
matter, one,
If we cover it, then we just have, if one of them does fail. At the capital, we don't know what.
I mean, it's gotta come out of,
Some,
at the end of the bottom line is. There's gonna have to be a money taken out of the reserve to cover these shortfalls,
Right.
so,
unless you do that, and then if one does fail, we just. Come and we'll deal with it at that time.
I don't know how you wanted to deal with it.
Either way, as long as council's aware that if one of them fails, we're going to.
You're gonna have to come back to
We're
them.
gonna have to come back and get it fixed. We're just hoping not to have to put that kind of money into something that hopefully maybe even replace this year.
so the 75,000 upgrade reserve that's for the diesel engines as well?
There's two. the
Okay, then we got 43,000 if
That's for
repairs, but we put it towards the
my hope
replacements
is,
as well.
depending on where it comes in pricing. We have that, we could just take that and put that in the reserve to cover the cost of full replacement, rather than. You know, you really don't wanna put $40,000 into 2 units that could be getting replaced in. 3 months, 6 months. But at the same time, if it fails, we do need to have it repaired. So,
So the question really is, how do we fund this $32,000 extra? spent
So,
On catch basins?
yeah, so at the end of the day. I still gotta go through all these sheets again, but at
Mhm.
the end of the day. If we were under all our projects, we would transfer it to reserves. If we're short overall, we have to transfer from reserves.
Right. Do you have an idea where we stand today on capital from last year?
Yeah, I
Won't
think,
hold you to anything, but
I think close to 50,000 short,
short.
and a lot of it's gonna do with this 32,000.
Mhm. Okay. All right, well, we're aware of it. I don't think we make a decision today. I think making us aware of it is,
But I need a decision shortly,
okay,
cause I can't finish off 20, I got so many things that are up in the
Okay.
air for 2023 that I can't.
But are you recommending, or would you recommend that we cover that 32 from the 40, whatever?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Like, is a
I
smarter
just-
move right now? Because the 40 is,
It's gonna come out of your contingency reserve one way or the other.
Mhm.
So we said they're gonna come out of there, or it's gonna not go towards Jason's diesel things like he's saying, and if he does need it, it's
Well,
gonna
then
come out of
we'll-
there anyway.
yeah, we'll come back and look at
Yeah.
it if in fact
I-
you need it.
So,
I just want council to be aware that.
Yeah.
That's kind of why that money was.
so we
saved.
can leave
Yeah.
it the way it is for now, put your 43 aside. And just use this as part of that 50,000 that we're gonna be pretty short on. Like, this isn't gospel yet.
Right,
This is
right.
just our preliminary one discussing everything with each
Sure.
department. And we can go through them again. Before I do the actual journal entry.
Right. Um. I think we should just sit on this for now, but if we come back to the council meeting in 2 weeks with a recommendation. Is that, or would you like to deal with it before that?
I'll let you know. Like I said, everything I'm trying to work on, there's glitches,
Yeah, okay,
so,
So if we need a quick decision, we can do an email,
yeah,
yeah.
like if
Okay.
it
Just let
has
me
to
keep
happen.
working along on
Yeah,
all the various things, and if I get to this point and I need an answer, I'll let you know.
and is that 75,000 the only, is that the first installment into reserve, or is there already some put
We're
aside?
still, yeah, I think we're at the 225 or something, aren't we?
I think, yeah, it's up to, yeah, it's up there.
That was just
Or
last
something.
Yeah,
year's.
I didn't know if we'd,
Yep, we do have some more in there.
okay,
I think we had done 75.
I think so, and then
Skip a few
COVID,
years,
yeah,
we had 75.
so that would put us at 200, okay,
so. It was just a suggestion that since we're gonna be short anyway on some of our projects. We wanna be. Putting stuff aside to one reserve and taking out of another reserve, or,
so. If we go, the $5,000 went into the cleaning well reserve, and that's something we want to do every 4 years, is that right, Jay?
probably
Every
three.
3.
3, okay. So that's all the, like the pumping stations just need to be cleaned out, basically.
Just.
So, yeah, sucking the loose gravel out of them and stuff. The sinkholes, we budget 35. Is this because of the one down on Michigan Ave? Is that what?
Well, it's
Put us
there was
way-
Michigan Ave, there was the, down under the, like, around the, by the fry parking, the bridge fry park, we had to replace 3
Yes,
catch basins, because all the CSP pipe was all rotten and was starting to cave in. That's exactly what happened along, well, both spots on Michigan now, under the bridge, it's just. There is no top of the pipe, it's basically just dirt, and it's all just starting to slowly cave in, they couldn't get the cameras through the pipe because of it. Michigan Ave in front of Albert's there, same thing, there's probably 20 feet of pipe that there's just. holes all the way along the top, it's just rotten. So there's, I forget the exact amount there.
So this $35,000 is something we budget pretty much every year,
Yeah,
Correct.
it's $35,000 and
and we just do what we do.
we have to, like, we can't not fix it. Well, if you didn't fix it and there's a sinkhole and somebody
Yeah.
ran their car into it, it could be a lot
Well, that
worse
would be
for
good.
us.
So this is a bit of an exceptional year to spend that extra 32,000, but. But some, I mean, we're doing these condition assessments, we might find.
Yeah.
More spots like it too, so. Okay. And then, the 43,000 is just, it's not been spent. So a decision on what to do with that. On Alexandra, again, 5,000 into the reserve was done, the dormer repairs is complete. So we have a $2,700 surplus there, that's nice. And then $20,000 into a pipe reserve. What's that for?
That's the pipe in the second floor, so the discharge pipe off the pumps. It's leaking around, like basically where the pipe sits in concrete saddles.
Mhm.
There's leaks at the concrete saddles.
Okay.
So we just want to get a reserve started because it's gonna be a fairly significant job to fix all that. So it's just, let's get a reserve going and we'll hopefully get a few more years out of it before we have to actually go in and spend the money, but it is coming. So.
Questions on any of those? So it's just an update of what we're doing with last year's capital projects.
Okay, so the next line would be environmental services monthly financial statements for the period ending January 31st, 2024.
Yeah, so in these they're only the summaries.
Mhm.
Tina wasn't able to print off the detailed, so. At least these ones are budget numbers, right?
Yes, with instance, yes. One advantage of
Being early,
I mean,
Okay, were there any questions? about
no,
those?
not for me.
Okay. Okay, then, internet keeps cutting in today. There we go. Okay, so the next meeting of the Environmental Services Committee will be held March 12th, 2024 at 1 p.m. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.